There's a moment where Rocket breaks down at a bar and we have a glimpse of his deepest insecurity, which is his appearance and his own origins.
I didn't have to be torn apart and put back together over and over and turned into some little monster!
Rocket, no one's calling you a monster.
Therefore, his biggest personal dilemma comes from a feeling of constant undesirability. Self-esteem is important because it indicates the degree of which the individual is accepted and feel valued by others. It's crucial to our development as people and as social actors. And Rocket is deeply disempowered by his own unattractiveness. No one ever treats him the way he wants because he never appears the way he wants himself.
Hey, that's how eyesight works, you stupid raccoon.
Don't call me a raccoon!
But that's also where he grows as a person. As a result, the purpose of this essay is to examine Rocket's journey and touch on Groot's character to an extent, to see how these themes of identity are developed and where they develop. You could say I live for the simple When we're first introduced to Rocket and Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, there are simply a couple of thugs in Xandar looking for a target to cash in on. But before they stumble on Star-Lord, a fun detail is Groot drinking from a public display and Rocket shaking his head from seeing it.
Don't drink fountain water, you idiot. That's disgusting.
Groot is Rocket's muscle, but Rocket is also Groot's carer. Not only do they look after each other, but the roles they have taken on in this friendship is also what gives them meaning.
What is wrong with Giving Tree here?
Well, he don't know talking good like me and you.
Rocket is often Groot's voice in a universe that has difficulty understanding it, while Groot actively guides Rocket into becoming a more responsible and sociable person. This is the most explicit when he convinces Rocket to rescue Star-Lord from the Ravagers.
I am Groot. I know they're the only friends we ever had, but there's an army of Ravagers around them, and there's only two of us.
As a result, we're immediately established to the notion that Rocket's drama is fixated on his relationship with himself, more so than his battles with the outside world.
You're making me beat up grass!
First, it begins with his self-esteem problems. As I quote from Stanley Coopersmith, self-esteem is a personal judgment of worthiness. And Rocket carries an innately negative self-image because his very creation stems from a place of disempowerment. Therefore, he takes out his feelings of constant vulnerabilities on others.
She called me rodent! Let's see if you can laugh after 5 or 6 good shots to your frickin'!
From his fights with Drax to his constant dismissal of Star-Lord. As a result, a lot of qualities of Groot is symbolic of Rocket's loneliness because all he can do is listen to a voice that no one else can understand. Rocket has trapped himself in a private and isolated bubble with very limited dialogue with the external social world.
Yo, Ranger Rick, what are you doing? You can't take apart my ship without asking me.
But very importantly, Groot also becomes his connective tissue with others. Not just because he's kind and helpful, but by having to look after Groot, Rocket has been forced to develop the ability and skills to look after himself and thus carry these habits in the way he looks after others. Consequently, the values of Rocket's self-esteem increases as he develops a stronger membership with his burgeoning new family. This is then characterized heavily by his role as Baby Groot's paternal figure.
Come on, Groot. Put that game down. You rot your brain.
The character of Groot himself throughout the films serve heavily as a narrative glue that keeps the Guardians together. Because first he died so the Guardians can want to share their lives together.
We are Groot.
And then Baby Groot is used as the social component that keeps them together. The opening dance sequence spotlights this by showing every member of the Guardians sharing the same role as a parent. trying to nurture this little being and protect him. Therefore, Rocket's second arc enters a stage where that isolated bubble is gone.
Do you know why I did it, Star Munch?
You're not gonna answer, Star Munch.
I did it because I wanted to.
Not only is he a member of a community, but he's socially dependent on their feedback in order to understand himself, since the original Groot isn't around to just nod along. As a result, all of his fights, frictions, and rivalry with Star-Lord stems from Rocket more or less relapsing into bad emotional habits, because he's so deeply incapable of adjusting how he sees himself versus how other people now see him.
No, I don't care about those things. I want to save Quill so I can prove I'm better than him. I can lord this over him forever. What are you laughing at me for?
So he begins to pursue an impression. Subsequently, Yondu and Rocket's relationship strips this away because Yondu completely recognizes this degrading process. He himself was abandoned at birth, so he's matured with the right words to unveil all of this to Rocket.
And you push away anyone who's willing to put up with you, because just a little bit of love reminds you how big and empty that hole inside you actually is.
I said shut up!
In particular, the argument they share where Yondu forces Rocket to confess his own insecurity ends up being a crucial transitioning point in how he frames his world. Rocket has the perspective now to understand that the risk of his life is no longer the capacity for others to change him, but his loss of power in changing himself.
What kind of a pair are we?
So after this point, Rocket changes gears and develops the motive to invest his life into the Guardians. He invites Yondu, he leaves Star-Lord on Ego in order to save Gamora and everyone else. And when Yondu dies, that part of him died with him. The selfish, insecure boy who was preoccupied with daydreaming the past is now left behind for a more mature man. Someone who's ready to be part of a family.
I lost the only family I ever had. Quill, Groot, Drax, the chick with the antenna, all gone.
Now, I get you miss your mom, but she's gone. So is it too much to ask that you brush the crumbs out of your beard?
Infinity War and Endgame gives a lovely climax to this new Rocket, first by having Thor mistake him as the captain over Star-Lord because he displays way more confident and decisive leadership skills.
The rabbit is correct and clearly the smartest among you.
Rat?
I assume you're the captain, sir.
You're very perceptive.
You seem like a noble leader.
Secondly, when Thor pours his heart out, not only is Rocket there to listen sincerely, but he gives Thor a new eye.
Thank you, sweet rabbit.
This is a Rocket who doesn't just steal but also shares.
You better not throw up on my ship.
And finally in Endgame, when everything goes wrong and all of the Guardians but Nebula are wiped out, he's the one who gets the Reality Stone and is a key player in restoring life in the cosmos.
Boom!
There's a great quote by Jan Stetz and Peter Burkle: social belongingness and integration means identifying with central social categories and participating in groups that are socially recognized, familiar, valid, and known by others in society. And Rocket and Groot are the purest distillation of this process. They are criminals and thieves who becomes a family with others, all through learning to share, recognize, and familiarizing their own flaws and loneliness with Star-Lord, Gamora, and Drax.
Okay. I got some blasters unless you guys want to use knives.
Oh, yes, please. Use knives.
Yeah.
Their shared personality structures resolves their loneliness, because by verifying what the boundaries are in their bubbles, be it nostalgia, communication difficulties, or self-esteem issues, they become each other's solutions. And that's what Rocket's journey shows us. Hidden underneath our relationships with others is very much our relationships with ourselves.